Welcome to episode 113 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg. I am the founder of College Recruiter and joined here, as always, by my co-host, Jeanette Leeds. Jeanette, great to see you.
Hello, good to see you as well. And I am excited about today's episode because if you didn't catch the last time, we have Trent Cotton back. He is from iCIMS, and we're going to talk about the latest report coming out of iCIMS. So Trent, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Awesome.
a great way to spend my afternoon.
Love it. So for our listeners who maybe didn't catch the last time you were on, give us a quick background on what you're doing at iCIMS and just sort of like the 411.
And why your job title looks like a winning entry in a Scrabble game.
Well, I always kind of joke around. It's like, what? The guy with the stutter is the one that has such a long title. But so I am Trent Cotton, head of talent insights and analyst relations here at iCIMS. Joined in June of last year. Prior to that, I spent over 20 years as a practitioner in the talent and the HR space. But this job just combines all the things I love, which is data, talent data, research, thought leadership, and it's kind of fun being on the vendor side, kind of being the practitioner in residence. So I have a lot of fun every day.
Awesome. So we're going to talk today about a report that came out in January. This episode is scheduled to drop February 5th. We're recording it a little bit earlier than that. So if we get mixed up in our dates, bear with us. But the January report, as we were talking about in the green room, Trent, it kind of surprised me.
Mhm.
Some of the information in there was not at all what I was thinking in terms of optimism by employers, like increased job openings, hiring, et cetera, and also on the candidate side. Do you want to maybe give us a bit of a 35,000 foot overview?
Yeah,
and I'm going to throw up the QR code also so that people can go there. For those who are listening on the audio only version, icims.com/company/corporate-newsroom/research.
An easier way to just go icims.com, hit research, hit talent insights, and it will take you to the most recent report out there. So
there you go, using facts again.
Okay. Hey, I know. I'm the data guy. What do you expect? So I do want to highlight that this is a free report that we put out every month. And so basically what we do is we look at all of our data. So that's 630 million candidate activities. I mean, it's just a ton of data, and we analyze it and we turn it back out into the market and go, here's what we're seeing from our proprietary data. And one of the things that I was really surprised by was that if you look at typical November, December, things start coming down. Hiring goes down, application volume goes down, openings goes down. We didn't see that in December of this past year. Now, let's also kind of take a step back outside of the data. What are you hearing the last quarter? It's all these layoffs, everything is slowing down. Everyone is a little conscientious about what's the next move. But when we actually stop and look at, let's just kind of look at the month over month first. It was a 6% increase month over month in terms of openings and 8% year over year. So
let me just interrupt for a second. When you say month over month, from November to December.
From November to December, 6% increase, and then 8% comparing December to December. And I'm kind of like you. I'm like kind of at a loss for words, because what I'm hearing in the media and even looking at some of the job numbers and then seeing this, I'm going, okay, what in the world's going on? So this is an atypical break for this time of season. But what's concerning is applications went up a little bit, but if you look at our 3-line report, which is on I think the 3rd page, we look at openings, the hires, and the applicant activity in a kind of a 3-line chart looking at year over year. You see this steady decline beginning, I believe, in October, and it's pretty steep, and then all of a sudden you see this uptick in everything but hiring in December. Hiring actually decreased year over year by, I want to say, 3%. All those numbers start running in my head together. So, but it dipped. And so what is concerning me as we're going into this new year is that you have openings increasing, applicant activity I mean, it increased, but it's compared to the dip that we've seen since October, it's not really going to cause that much pressure. But we have this widening gap between the openings and the hiring. So
Mm.
it's kind of like a green stop sign, like
Mm.
corporations are going, let's add all these other positions, but all the ones that we have out, let's slow down the offers because of whatever reason. So that's kind of one angle. The other angle could be that they've eliminated positions and they're turning around and creating new positions to support AI infrastructure. Now, caveat, data doesn't tell me that. I'm just making an inference, trying to figure out why this uptick in December.
That's really, really interesting. Because and I love that you have this data, right? Because it's so easy to feel like, okay, this is what it's feeling like. And I feel like
Right.
that
Mm.
I've seen this for years where we're reactive, you go by feelings, and you look at the data and it tells us different stories. So it's so
Yep.
nice to have like, okay, here's what the data is showing. It is so interesting that delta between openings and hiring.
Hmm.
Let's talk more on the candidate side. I know there was a
Yeah.
stat in there that said something effective like 2/3 of the candidates felt less optimistic about the 2026 job market,
Yeah.
and changing
Yeah.
jobs feels risky. Like,
Hmm.
dive into that. Was that in any specific um, market or types of jobs, or was that just sort of general all over?
Just kind of general. We we
Yeah.
we polled a group of job seekers and employees in the market and just kind of said, "Hey, here's some questions. Let us know how you feel about them." So if we put on our risk lens, 31% of the workforce say that changing jobs right now is too risky. So close to a third. But then 2/3 are less optimistic about 2026 versus 2025. And I think, if we look at this time last year, everyone was like, God, 2024 was awful. 2025, we're going to swing out of this. Like, I could probably be quoted going, look, Q1's going to be bad. Q2, 3 is going to just be blaring to go. Boy, was I wrong. you know? So I think everyone's a little gun shy right now. So less optimistic. There is a trend out there, like one of the common media things right now is job hugging, or those that are
Mhm.
employed, even if they want to move, they're not necessarily happy, but they're just keeping the job because it's too risky to move out. They're calling that job hugging. If I'm looking at the data, I think we're going to go from job hugging to job chaining. Like, you're
Oh.
going to have
Mm.
to kick me out. I don't care how miserable it gets. The
Wow.
BLS reported its productivity numbers, and it increased year over year. And everyone's like, "See, we're getting so much more productivity and blah blah blah." And I see all these talking heads talk about it. I'm going, "Okay, just let's break down the stats. If you're doing more with less, by default, your productivity is going to go higher. So I think that we are going to reach a fever point of doing the most with what you have, and there's going to be a breaking point. And the other concern that I have is, if the economy changes to the positive, if companies start reinvesting in human capital rather than using their OPEX for AI infrastructure and other
Mhm.
developments, if that changes, it's not only going to be a recruiting problem, it's going to be a huge retention problem, because it's almost like
Mm.
it's like cooking popcorn the old way in the pan. You start seeing the lid doing like this. That's
Yeah.
how I kind of feel about the workforce right now.
Interesting.
So for the record, that is the best way of doing popcorn, and it is
I've
how
heard.
my wife and I
It
do
is.
that. So you guys could
I've
come
heard.
over tomorrow night, and we'll enjoy. Um, I'm really glad, Trent, that you mentioned the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Mhm.
For listeners who aren't tuned into that, maybe out of the country, that's been kind of like the preeminent survey taker, if you will,
Right.
run by the US federal government. It started to break down in the summertime. They skipped a month, and then the federal shutdown in the fall. It took a hiatus, and I don't know if it's getting back to normal yet or not. You're probably in a better position to know that. What I've been seeing is data released by a lot of third parties, or private data.
Mhm.
That there's some payroll data. iCIMS with the workforce reports is really good. Um, what differences are you seeing with the data that iCIMS is collecting and publishing in the workforce report
Mhm.
versus what BLS is reporting? Is it consistent?
Um, it's interesting. So, it is our proprietary data. We are pulling data from what's going on with our clients. So if we have, let's just say, a healthcare company that has an amazing employer brand, they have great benefits, they do all this stuff, and they move fast, well, then yeah, their numbers are going to look better than your common metrics and time to fill an applicant per opening, all those fun things. So our data is a little bit different. It's not looking at the entire job market, it's looking at what's going on with our clients. There have been some times where our clients are doing better than the market. And so, BLS and even ADP, some of the stuff that they put out, and then I look at our data, I'm going, you know, but it's good. It means our clients are doing something right. It means that
Yeah.
we're partnering with them and giving them the strategy that they need to succeed. So I do think that's a big difference there. But we are one of the only providers out there that does provide workforce data that is pretty transcendental. You do have a couple of others that put things out like hourly wages or kind of look at particular sectors. We try to take a little bit more of an open approach.
I love that. And just talking about different sectors and industries. Meanwhile, you said we don't really, have all, but I know we were talking before in the green room that you did see in some of this data that, for example, we talked about healthcare. Like, so share with our audience, like that, what you were seeing in the healthcare jobs compared to some of the other industries. Let's dive in there, because I think that's really interesting.
It's kind of funny because it's like whenever you're watching TikTok and things now, I'll see something, I go, okay, is this AI? Like, you have to go
Right.
and you have to
Yeah.
verify. It was this way
Yeah.
whenever I was trying to look at just some job report numbers. I was doing some like a consultation with one of our healthcare clients.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at the job data, and it pulled up, and 584,000 jobs were added last year, according to the BLS. 69% of them were healthcare. So had healthcare not been involved, it would have been a lot more dismal year in terms of jobs being added. But if I'm looking at that and then I go and I look at our healthcare data, the average applicant per opening is like in the 20s versus kind of the industry is in that mid 30 range, and it's kind of been around there for the last 6 months of the year. So they're already lower than what's in the market, and their time to fill hasn't moved. So whenever I hear that from the BLS, my whole approach today is I like to interrogate the data. I don't just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
So I go and I look at that, and then I look at our numbers and go, well, that checks. And so I do think, to your question, Stephen, you don't need just one source. You need the BLS because it is somewhat objective. You need ADP because it's a good subset, like kind of looking at the same data from a different vantage point, and then leveraging something like iCIMS to look at the entire workforce. It's almost like watching the news channels now. You watch three of them, and the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm looking at the three-legged stool, BLS, iCIMS, workforce data, and ADP, the truth is going to be somewhere in between all of that, because we're all looking at the same data from different angles.
Yeah.
Really
Last
good
question.
point. Okay, so first of all, I as somebody who grew up in Canada, I would be remiss for missing out on your reference to the 69% for healthcare because of the Bryan Adams song of the Summer of '69. So
That was, believe it or not, whenever I played in a band, that was actually one of my favorite ones to play on the piano because of the
awesome.
key change.
And I saw him in concert, and he gave the audience an off the record information about like where the song came from. But another topic for another day.
Another podcast.
Yeah. You mentioned sort of like that three-legged stool. Some of our listeners might not be all that familiar with iCIMS, and I think it's really important that they understand how broad-based your clients and the roles are. So, 30 seconds, maybe, like, tell us like who your clients are, where the data is, because you're not like skewing heavily to tech or, or a bunch of startups or whatever.
No, actually, we've got a pretty decent spread of being tied into several of the different industries. We typically look at upper commercial, enterprise level, even global companies. The way that we've designed our product is it is so incredibly configurable, which you need at an enterprise. I've run enterprise teams.
Yep.
You need something that is highly configurable for all the different things that you have to connect into. And so that allows us, when we're looking at this data, we've got heavy healthcare, heavy finance, and heavy manufacturing. So we can even go deeper into some of these sectors, which we do monthly in the workforce report. We do try to look at different sectors and say, okay, here's what's going on in the macro world. What's going on in manufacturing, and what does that mean? So it does put us at a pretty unique vantage, having the wide breadth of industries represented by our clients.
And about how many employers are using iCIMS?
I can't give that out. Come on now.
Thousands?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There we go. Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Bingo.
He almost got me, Jeanette.
He
Almost got me.
I know, but that was good. Very, very
3,248. Now, what?
I did not say that for my
that
legal
was-
team. I did not say that.
That was you putting on your analyst relations hat, being like,
You saw how quick I'd look.
You did. It was good. It was very good.
Quick.
I am so out of my league in this call. Trent, Jeanette, awesome. I would love to keep going, but we can't.
We're at time.
Yeah, we will see you for a third time, and if you come on for the 5th, like Saturday Night Live, we'll get you a special jacket.
Well, you're going to want to have me on after March, because I'm going to have a new anchor report focused on AI adoption and TA. So you're definitely going to want to have me on after that.
Deal.
Done.
Awesome.
On that note, take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.